Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. It's Monday, April the 15th, and I don't want to mention what day that signifies, folks, because you all know about it. It's been beat to death, and I'm not going to carry on with it in any event. We got some Major League Baseball we're talking today, and I got the right guys to be talking about it. I got Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com and my fellow sports betting expert over at gamblersworld.net, which is our sponsor site, Mr. Chip Chirimbes is with us today. And Chip with us a couple times each week, and he'll be filling in from time to time for people who need a leave of absence. You know, Jesse's out all week with vacation. You know what? When do I get a vacation, Doug, is what I want to know. Yeah, it's not happening. Okay, so there you have it. I'm glad to see my esteemed colleagues have gone to bat for me, with no pun intended. Doug, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. And hey, two things is that you should take a vacation because you look like you need one. Okay. And then
thank you.
Boom.
There's a vote of confidence anyway. I feel much better now.
And see, that kind of gets the blood flowing a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. And then I forgot my other point, but hey, tonight, good news for me. I'm going to the Cubs and Diamondbacks games here locally. The 3 games for the Cubs, and can drink a little old style while I'm there, and just choke a couple of those babies down and be set to go on that one.
Yeah, Doug, you always, this guy here. He looks for a reason, even a drop of a hat, to party a little bit and have a good time. And that's okay, as long as he sticks to the game plan when he's on the show and he continues to put out winners. I don't care what he does with his personal life. Anyway, Dougie, the other thing is I had to mention it to you because you were so down on the NL Central. And boy, oh boy, this whole division has played, with maybe the exception to St. Louis Cardinals, has played a little bit over their head so far.
Oh, a lot of them have. I mean, the Cubs, taking 2 out of 3 in Seattle over the weekend. Pirates look great. Playing the White Sox helped Cincinnati, but you know what? They're still getting it done. Cardinals are hanging in there, so that's good. And the team I'm going to talk about today, the Milwaukee Brewers, I would almost use the word stunning start. I mean, their expectations were well below normal. And this is a team that has had trouble scoring runs, and they're not having any trouble scoring runs right now.
Yeah. All right. So, that's the game I'm covering today, by the way. And Chipper, I believe that's the game.
You're correct. I'm sorry. I written a little.
And he tells me I need a vacation, Chip. He tells me I need a vacation. So there you have it.
It isn't bad, believe me.
Yeah, I had to throw that dig in, while I can. Chipper, good weekend for you?
I'm 12-5 in my last 17 releases in both baseball and NBA. Beautiful. The NBA picked up really quickly this weekend. We did very well. Yesterday, having a game of the year, which Houston, a team that was under 500, favored by 4.5 points over a 4th-seeded team, and we won that game handily and easily. So I was quite happy about that. And Ross, April 15th is a big day. Maybe you didn't want to mention it, but Abraham Lincoln was assassinated and died on April 15th. On April 15th, Jackie Robinson in 1947 busted into the major leagues. And guess what? We also had another big day in Major League Baseball the Titanic sunk on April 15th. So there's your trio of big game events I got for you on this date. And there's a big game tonight in Major League Baseball you don't want to miss. Just follow the buy links and you'll get it from me.
There you go. Chip Chirimbes. He had a 10-unit, highest rated, top play game of the year winner on the Houston Rockets last night. And folks, there you have it. I've been mentioning this time and time again. And Chipper, who put this idea in my head many years ago, and it stuck with me, is trust the odds maker, man. You look at that game and you got Houston, who was not going to be a playoff team, on the road as a 3-point favorite against a team that's going to be a number 4 seed. And obviously, when you see that line, players are sitting out for the Clippers. But by the same token, they're begging you to take the better team that's the underdog on paper anyway. And Chipper said, the hell with you. I'm going the other way.
Ross, I deemed that, believe it or not, my don't make sense game of the year. And it didn't make sense to have a team under 500 favored over a playoff bound team at LA, as a matter of fact. So I'm very fortunate. It doesn't always work out, but this one seemed to stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like don't make sense winners a hell of a lot better. Makes a lot of sense losers. Don't you? I mean, again, where did I come up with that brilliant conclusion? Anyway, yesterday I had a rough Friday and Saturday, mostly in baseball. But I bounced back yesterday with a 3-0 sweep. Had the Indiana Pacers. Very rarely lay a big number like I did yesterday, but I had Indiana. I got down early on Saturday night, -13. They moved much higher prior to game time, and they won 157-115. That's right, 157 points, folks. And I also had the over in that game, which when I played it on Saturday night and posted it, it was 236.5, went all the way to 242.5, but it did not matter. And and then, I had the Detroit Pistons and help me out, guys. That game over to Detroit and San Antonio over the total. Yeah, I got down early again on Saturday night. I got it at 214.5 and moved all the way to 219.5. And boy, oh boy, am I glad, and my clients are glad I got down early, because that line moved to 219.5. And guess what, Doug? It fell at 218. So got a winner there. And again, I use that. It's over now. This regular season's over. But keep it in the back of your mind, folks. If I do use games such as those where two teams are eliminated from playoff contention or realistically not going to be a playoff team, like both of those obviously were, the worst team in the East versus the worst team in the West. My theory has always been, look for a reason to use the over in those games. And then if you get an enticing number like 214.5, basically my thought process is neither team is going to care one bit about playing defense. And it's all going to be about incentives and playground basketball. And that's exactly what transpired yesterday. And I'm glad it did, as I went 3-0. So there you have it. All right, let's get to our games at hand here. Before I get to that, folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. Costs you absolutely nothing. You're watching right now. And if you haven't done so, you're watching because you love sports betting. Well, I got some of the best sports betting experts. Two of them are with me today on this channel. And we give you a lot of world-class sports betting advice, as well as winning free picks. And again, folks, we always hope, win or lose, that we make you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. And also, there's a like button right underneath the video box there. It goes a long way with our sponsor, and also a small token of your appreciation for the work, time, and effort we put in to just hit that like button. Doesn't take much to make us happy these days. That certainly would take the cake. All right, Chipper, the Pirates in the Mets tonight. The Mets right now -125 money line favorite. The total 8.5. Martin Perez, the lefty, goes for the Pirates, and for the Mets, former Milwaukee Brewers starter Adrian Hauser. What do you got for us, my friend?
Well, Ross, I looked this up. Because we check stats in baseball, it's so stat driven. This Perez is in his 13th year, and who would ever thought? I mean, it's amazing to me that time flies like this, and he's been his 13th year. Hauser's in his 8th year, all previously with Milwaukee, of course. The Mets started out 0-5, and I think they were averaging about a hit and a half a game. It was really terrible for them. Since then, they've gone 7-3. Alonso's hit 6 home runs in that period. He's now second in the National League. And the Mets are beginning to look like a ball club. Of course, Lindor, that great big prize I got from Cleveland, free agent, is he's about 2 for 53 or something along those lines right now. Just absolutely horrid start for him, Ross. But the Mets all of a sudden right now, I think, have a little bit of momentum. They've gained the confidence. And once you get a bad start like that, and then all of a sudden you start to put it together, it really changes your outlook and your attitude every day when you come to the ballpark. Perez 1-0 this year. His ERA is under 2. And he hasn't had that. He's 4-0 lifetime against the Mets, by the way. And I'm taking the Mets here because I'd rather bet teams than players, if you know what I'm saying. Yep. That's why the number could be whatever it is, and there could be somebody out or somebody in. and I think it's already been accounted for in that number. I don't think has a secret. Adrian Hauser's ERA is 5.90, but his last time out, he had a pretty good outing. He wasn't all that bad. 4-3 lifetime against Pittsburgh. I have to take the Mets here just because of the team momentum they had. Hauser's 31-40 for his entire career. He's in his 8th season. I got to go with the Mets here, though. It's just one of these situational plays, Ross. Where
it's another. It doesn't make sense, right? I mean, Pittsburgh's
and I like to take a team. We could always say, my old partner and I, you say, well, we got to in baseball. You stay with the X's, which means you X a team that won the night before. And that's the team that you can possibly play the next day. You don't try to break the streaks and think after a team's won 8 in a row, oh, I'm a genius, I'm going to break them. You stick with them. So they're on the X, and I'm going to take the Mets.
There you go. So Chip Chirimbes, he's on the X. And that means if you follow his picks recently, he's on the X as well. So you need not to go against him. But, yeah, it falls under the category, Doug, of another one of those picks that Chip just mentioned yesterday, not quite as drastic, but you got a Pittsburgh team that has a better record. You have a starting pitcher in Martin Perez that has a good track record against the team he's facing. And yet here we are. The Mets are a $1.25 favorite. So what do you say, my friend?
Yeah, in fact, what I did, even before knowing, I marked this as, and I was going to mention this directly, this to me looks like a Chip special, okay, as a matter of fact, okay? So, I mean, you've got the superior team by record, everything else. And by the way, it's Martin Perez, by the way, just for clarification purposes. And Ross, I know don't want to hear any grief, so I'm trying to help you out on that one.
Yeah.
This game to me, I'm just looking at this one. To me, this is a regression special looking at the Pirates here. And here's the numbers to back it up. National League underdogs of plus 100 or higher, like Pittsburgh, scoring 4.7 or more runs a game, facing a team that has a good bullpen ERA, in this case 3.75 or less, starting a pitcher who has given up 2 or less run in 2 straight starts, are 10-45 since 2020. Let's ring it up. The Metropolitans for this one, boys.
There you go. So that's a great betting angle, by the way, Doug, and thank you for sharing that. And one question more for you, Chip. Is Lindor going to become your new Gary Sanchez in the metropolitan New York area?
I actually think Lindor is a pretty good baseball player.
Yeah, he is. Very
I know
good.
It's tough coming into New York. I mean, the pressure they must feel every day. When the Mets were in Cincinnati 2 weeks ago, New York fans in Cincinnati were harassing Lindor's family. I mean, that's how much they carry it over there. So, I think he's a better ball player than Sanchez for sure. But he's got a lot of pop in his bat. I mean, for a shortstop, this guy's going to hit close to 30 homers. But he's still got him at the top of the order, and that really hasn't helped the Mets at all. And he's going to come around for them to show.
He's too good. It's a matter of time. And unfortunately, what happens in many instances, such as these, specifically in the New York area, or in the New York market, I should say, is these players thrive in smaller markets, and then they get signed for big money, and they're the next coming superstar of the New York metropolitan area, and the bright lights just get to them. And I'm not sure if that's some of the case there. I don't know, Doug, do you have any insight into those thoughts? I'm going to
I agree. I mean, not everybody's cut out to play in New York, and I can give you right now two scenarios. Juan Soto, I mean, over with the Yankees, I mean, he just looks like he's born to play for this team.
Yeah.
And here's a name from the past, but a guy that took the money, and he got the money, but boy, Ed Whitson, okay, pitcher. He really struggled with the Mets. Had a horrible. I don't remember even how long he played there. But, I mean, he was just eaten alive there, and I don't think he could have gotten out of town fast enough.
Yeah.
I can mention 2 others. One is Doyle Alexander. I remember him coming in and really struggling. And the other one just slips my mind right now. You know what happens when you get over into my age bracket. But it happens. You come into New York, and there's a whole different mindset.
Kenny Holtz. You're thinking of Kenny Holtzman? Kenny Holtzman, Chip?
What was that?
Kenny Holtzman?
No, Holtzman didn't do all that bad, but
Okay.
it skipped my mind.
Yeah.
Right now, Rick Ruschel is the guy I was thinking about. He came, he played 1 year with the Yankees, and and it's surprising coming from Chicago, but he really just wasn't able to handle the media and the press. I mean, they drove Bobby Valentine out in New York after he took a nothing team to the World Series, and it's tough. It's a tough place to play, and if you do well, you're going to reap the rewards, like have a candy bar named after you.
Doug, I don't know if you know this, but Chip played against Bobby Valentine in high school.
Oh, is that right? No, I did not know that. Okay.
They played together for the most part.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, all right, let's talk. Speaking of the New York metropolitan area, the New York Yankees travel to the Rogers Center in Toronto. I think that's what it's still called.
Yes.
7:07 p.m. Eastern time start. And Chris Bassett's going to be the starting pitcher for Toronto. And he pitched a couple gems against the Yankees last year. And he's going to be opposed by the youngster Gill, who's been, he hasn't given them a lot of innings. And his ERA isn't jumping off the screen at you. But, my eye test when I watch him, Chipper, the kid's got a lot of pop in his fastball. Yep. And it's just a matter of him being able to control the strike zone a little better. But it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what you think on this particular matchup, Doug.
Yeah, well, this one, Yankees off to a brilliant 12-4 start. Looked really good. Toronto 8-8. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised that's where they end up at the end of the season. This is Justin Turner came over to Toronto, and he's picked up right where he left off with Boston. So he must evidently really like the American League pitching. Right now, he's hitting .386, and his slugging percentage is over .600. Kevin Biggio is having a better year, finally, I guess you could say. But then you look at George Springer, Bo Bichette, Dalton Varsho, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Kevin Kiermaier. All of those guys are on either side of 200. And for those that remember Chris Berman talking about this all the time, the Mendoza line, okay, named after Mario Mendoza, who perennially had a 200 batting average. Look at the Yankees, no Garrett Cole, okay, in the starting rotation. Aaron Judge is hitting .207 with 3 home runs, but yet Juan Soto is having a monster season thus far. A lot of other Yankees hitters are doing well. Yankees are number 3 in starting pitching ERA and number 4 in relief pitching ERA. You mentioned Gill, 13 innings. He's actually given them more walks than hits, 9 versus 8, but his ERA is 3. Bassett, as you mentioned, in his last 3 starts, I believe it is, he's got a 0.87 ERA against the Yankees. But thus far this season, 9 walks in 16 innings, which explains his 5.06 ERA and 1.81 ERA. Bassett has also permitted a home run in each of his starts, and the Yankees are 11-5 when they're north of the border. This game to me is pretty much a coin toss. Did I say that? I always say that wrong. Coin toss. I get the 2 words, the first vowel mixed up. Coin toss. But no matter what, however you want to say it, I'm saying that the Yankees are the play in this game.
All right. So the Yankees plus 105 over the Toronto Blue Jays. Chipper, Doug brings up a good point about Bassett's control issues early on. And the Yankees, if you've watched them play this year, they just grind you down. And they're one of the top teams in the league in pitches per at bat. In other words, they're over 4 pitches per at bat, which means they're seeing a lot of pitches and they're getting a lot of walks. And people might undervalue that when looking at a matchup, especially a team like the Yankees against a guy struggling with his control like Chris Bassett. But the Yankees let one get away yesterday, Chip, 7-5 in the bottom of the 10th, and they gave up 3 runs, but we'll give them a pass, right?
Well, I don't think so, because that was my top play yesterday. Thanks for mentioning that bullpen of the Yankees, which gave up 3 runs in the bottom of the 10th to blow a 2-run lead. But, you said control. Bassett's control. He's given up the 3 home runs, 20 hits in 16 innings. And my first instinct on this game was look for it to go over, the way the Yankees are hitting. And by the way, your stat on Soto is right on with the Yankees, because he led the major leagues last year in pitches seen each at bat. So he waits in the count. He looks for his good pitch. And that adds to the Yankees, as it was, I think led the majors last year in number of pitches seen. Judge has a good eye at the plate and things along those lines. If you get rid of that second baseman, I'll be happy. But what can I tell you about New York? No, and you're talking about control. The starter for the Yankees, he's got nasty stuff. If he can throw the ball in his spots over the plate, he's going to be really tough to deal with. When I first saw this matchup, with the way the Yankees have been hitting, how hot they've been, with their bullpen falling apart yesterday, I was gravitating toward the over in this game until Doug, I did a little research on it. I actually did some. And the last 5 games they played in Toronto have all gone under the total. And it just seems like that the Yankees, when they get into North, they may win the games, but they just haven't been scoring a lot of runs playing in Toronto. So originally I thought I was going to play it over with all that Bronx Bomber stuff going on, but I'm going to play the under in this game.
All right. So Chip has a lean toward the under, but our official play comes from Mr. Upstone, and he likes the New York Yankees plus 105 at Toronto. Chipper and Doug, and I'll let you guys chime in on this. Chipper's probably more in tune. I'm not so sure how much you've watched the Yankees so far this year, especially yesterday. Their outfield, to me, is solid defensively with Judge in center and Soto in right and whoever they put in left field. Right now, it's the kid Verdugo that they acquired from Boston, who's a really good defensive player. But their infield defense has been terrible this year. And surprisingly, Anthony Rizzo, who's usually, as you well know, Doug, in his time with the Cubs, one of the best defensive first basemen in baseball, but he struggled. He made 2 errors early on yesterday. And then I think why Chipper brought up Gleyber Torres, the second baseman, is he made a critical mistake in the bottom half of the 10th where he couldn't field the ground ball cleanly when the infield was in, and then his throw to the plate was late, which if he makes that play, gives them 2 outs and still up in the game. So, Chip, have you noticed that with the Yankees, a little bit of concern with the infield defense?
My first feeling about it was like the Yankees have a shortstop, and I used to call him Bobbly Meacham because he never handled the ball cleanly. And, when this ball was hit the second, if Derek Jeter was there, he just would have come up with it as a routine play and made the throw. He makes the routine play. And, I'm not a big Torres fan. He's the guy I'm after this year in the Yankees. We're going to get rid of him too. So, they were telling me last year he was their best hitter. I go, he's hitting 245. You might as well get rid of everybody. Yeah. But, they got to play defense in this game nowadays. You can't out-hit every opponent. I mean, you scored a kind of runs, and the Yankees had the lead the entire game and never gave up the lead until they lost.
Yeah.
Well, that's baseball, I guess. But that's why we call it gambling, Ross.
Yes, that's why we do. And there's no sure things, and we don't win every day. And sometimes those circumstances go against you, and sometimes they don't. And Doug will argue with me that most times they go against you. And I would say they all even out over the long haul. I think Chip would probably agree with you, Doug, because he's got a tendency to make comments like that. So
when you have a memory like an elephant, that's what happens. I mean, you remember all those.
It's called selective memory, is what it's called.
And we for the most part, I think, as handicappers, gravitate toward the underdogs. And whenever we have them and it goes to overtime, Doug, or an extra innings, as Jimmy Vaccaro says from South Point, overtime is where underdogs go to die. Yes. And how many other times do we just not get there after getting 6.5, 7, and getting blown out by 11 or 12 in the extra period? It happens time and again.
And how many times
is going to win out?
And how many times did you win a game over the course of your 150-year career?
I don't think it's ever happened.
You had a favorite. You had a favorite that wasn't covering the whole game, and you end up winning because the game went overtime and they covered.
All right. New England Patriots over the Atlanta Falcons, 28-3 at half. We win the game and a cover because Brady goes down and gets the touchdown instead of the winning field goal, which would not have covered. So I'll give you that one.
Yeah, I was elated with that result myself. So, I mean, I think the smartest thing in relation to Gleyber Torres that I saw the Yankees do, specifically their manager, Aaron Boone, is move Volpe to the leadoff spot because the kid's got speed. He's hitting for an average right now. Even Cabrera at third base, he's got off to a good offensive start, but he's a little shaky defensively. Yeah. And you mentioned Torres yesterday, and watching the game, he got hit a double play ball early in the game, and he turned and threw to second, and Volpe bailed him out by scooping it out of the dirt and barely getting that out. So, yeah, that concerns me a bit when it comes to the New York Yankees. All right, let me get to my game, and we'll wrap it up here, guys. And the game I am looking at here is the Padres and the Brewers, and a guy named Ross is the starting pitcher for the Brewers. I got to like the Brewers, right? Well, no, I'm going to look at the total in this game. For the record, Milwaukee minus 115 and 8.5 is a total. It'll be Joe Musgrave on the mound for the Padres, and for the Milwaukee Brewers, Joe Ross. So a couple average Joes on the mound, in literally. Joe Musgrove, who usually I always liked Joe Musgrove throughout his career, and at one point he was a pretty dominant pitcher. But 4 starts this year, he's been shaky. A 6.87 ERA, a 1.75 WHIP. And the Brewers, over the last 3 seasons, when they face a National League starting pitcher with an ERA of 6.40 or greater, they've played 12-2 to the over in that situation. Now, the Padres bullpen has been solid this year. However, their ERA 4.48 is as high as it is because they have problems walking hitters. 31 walks they've issued and 72 in the 3rd innings pitched. And I don't have to repeat myself because we discussed walks earlier, but it's never good when you're walking guys, especially with 0 or 1 outs in an inning. Milwaukee, by the way, has gone over the total in 7 straight. In those games, averaged 13.6 runs combined scored per outing. During that stretch, the Brewers, which I'm shocked by this, and I'm interested to hear Doug's take because he's been close to the situation for years in the NL Central. They're averaging 8.9 runs per game over their last 7 and hit 14 home runs. And, guys, it's really not a fluke so far because they've hit 23 home runs in their first 14 games. And on top of that, they've stolen 21 bases. So not only are they scoring runs and hitting home runs, they're putting additional pressure on opposing defenses with their stolen base rate. Joe Ross, 2 starts, but only 5 innings pitched per start in the Milwaukee bullpen at home, 5.76 ERA. Matter of fact, the Milwaukee bullpen has allowed 10 home runs and 55 in the 3rd innings pitched so far this season, and that's terrible. That home run to innings pitch ratio, when it comes to relief pitching, that's a terrible ratio. And since 2022, these teams have played 11 times in Milwaukee, and 9 of those 11 have gone over the total. Let's make it 10 of 12, as I'm going to take the Padres and the Brewers over 9.5. Doug?
Yeah, and this one, to me, I'm looking at San Diego's situation, and I don't have the exact numbers, and I don't actually know if there is exact numbers, but by and large, the teams that play on the road on Sunday night and then have to travel, that's usually a pretty poor situation for them, and that's exactly where San Diego is at. Now, granted, the game was late afternoon on the West Coast, so that that's a little beneficial, but they still lose 2 hours flying. Joe Ross, he's a number 5 starter. Okay, nothing more than that. You mentioned Musgrove. He's their supposed ace, but he's been terrible to this point with an ERA of almost 7. The caveat that kind of made me at least hesitate, he's working on 12 2/3 innings of scoreless baseball at American Family Field, and his last 19 innings against the Brew Crew, he's only given up 2 runs with that. But I'm still, the Brewers, those bats are red hot. Number 2 in Major League Baseball in scoring right now, off of how they played against Baltimore. I don't think it slows down against Musgrove, who just doesn't look right yet. And the Brewers, when the other thing that comes into play, when the line is anywhere from minus 100 to minus 150, and they're on a run of 31-13, Brew Crew is my play on this one.
All right, so Doug has a lean on the Milwaukee Brewers minus 115. My official pick for us is on the over 8.5. I mean, it's got to be shocking to you to see Milwaukee, Doug, put up the kind of offensive numbers they have thus far.
Yeah, well, I mean, Hoskins has helped. Okay, certainly. Yelich is hitting, so his back is good. So he's been great. So I mean, they just have a lot of good things going on. Don't forget last year they brought up a number of young players, and and that's where the difference comes into play with the stolen bases. They got some really good athletes now. Something that Milwaukee, for the most part, traditionally hasn't had is a lot of players that are very athletic, and so with that, it's changed the dynamic of the team. Do I think it'll hold up? Well, I think the pitching probably is going to eventually be an issue with what they have. But still, right now, they look excellent.
Chipper, your opinion on this matchup, and is Milwaukee for real, or is this a team that's playing way over their head right now?
Well, right now, I think they're hurt a little bit because Yelich is going out, rather. And, you need him healthy. I mean, he's such a big part, I think, of that team and the winning style of ball that he provides. I mean, he's an all-around player. He's got great fundamentals. But in this game, Ross, I'm looking to fade your namesake or your nephew, whoever he may be. I mean, but what stops me here is Musgrove. He's supposed to be their ace, like you said, Doug, and he's having an absolutely horrid season. ERA 6.8, wherever it is. So, and the way these Milwaukee bats are going, I'd look to play this one over the total. I certainly would. Musgrove haven't gotten anybody out yet, and I expect Ross to fall apart before it's all over.
All right. So whatever you do, don't play on his.
By the way,
yes.
The Yankees need a power spot at third base. They had nothing there, and they haven't had a catcher hit over 200 in 3 years. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, Cabrera's provided a little bit of power in the get.
He's done a few big hits, but I'm thinking of a guy that's going to give me 28 to 35 homers there, and I don't care how many balls he'll boot at third base. That's a power spot.
DJ LeMahieu is supposedly coming back this week, and he's not that type of hitter either.
That'll help.
But he's definitely a better defensive third baseman or second baseman than what they currently have right now in terms of that. But one thing not to do, folks, you could fade my nephew that's pitching tonight, but don't fade his uncle. That's me. Because I went 3-0 in the NBA last night. It puts me on a 7-1 and 18-10 NBA run. Basketball overall since March 19th on a 32-15 run, 33-15 in that area. Pretty good. Let's put it that way. And keep an eye on that because the NBA playoffs, starting with the play-in tournament, goes tomorrow. And we'll be back tomorrow with myself and Sean Higgs discussing the two NBA play-in games tomorrow. And Doug, over at DocSports.com, tell the folks a little bit about exactly how you've been doing of late and what they could look forward to in the upcoming week.
Well, we don't talk about this often, little golf action. And, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to take Scotty Scheffler to finish in the top 5. And that kind of worked out just fine. But then Xander Schauffele was my top play to finish in the top 10. So that was a real nice winner. So very strong weekend in golf for the Masters. So that was great. Major League Baseball, mixed bag, to be perfectly honest, over the weekend. So we'll look to start a new week. And I got a couple plays, including a best bet on Monday night. So looking forward to that. And finish the NBA season on a little bit of a run here. So looking forward to the postseason like you gentlemen are to see what's what. And now I brought this up to Ross before in years past. Chip, I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but here's the thing. If you're looking to pick an NBA winner for the championship, look at the top 3 teams in each conference. Only twice in the history of the NBA has a team outside of the top 3 won the title. So if you look at that, and if you want to look at the East right now, Milwaukee is really struggling. The New York seems to be playing a little bit better than what they really are to win 4 series. So realistically, you can look at 4 teams that have a chance to win the NBA title, and that should be real easy to break down from that standpoint.
I'll tell you what, if that norm doesn't continue this year, it'll be in the Western Conference because that Western Conference is loaded. Absolutely loaded. So in any event, good stuff, Doug. Chipper, you mentioned you hit that big play yesterday in the NBA playoffs this week. Chip, your A play, or what he calls his mega bucks plays, are something to keep an eye on. And tell the folks a little bit about what's going on with you at gamblersworld.net this week and anything else you want to fill in the audience in terms of hot streaks or whatever.
Okay. Well, I thank you, Ross. Like I said, we finished the NBA season with a flurry and with our game of the year yesterday on Saturday. And I have a best bet on the opening round on Tuesday night in the NBA. And, the playoffs seem to be when I thrive. And that's why I've got the reputation of, say, a big game player, because when the big games and the money are on the line, we seem to be able to come through. Major League Baseball, we're just rolling right along, Ross. If it wasn't, the Megabucks would have hit the fourth in a row. It wasn't for that Yankee relief staff yesterday.
Gleyber Torres cost you, buddy, not the relief.
Aaron Boone. I mean, I do love him. But anyway, I'm sorry to keep on the Yankees. So baseball's going to be there. We're going to triple play almost every day with a Megabuck leading the selections. If I don't have a Megabuck, you're still going to get 3 quality plays. But once again, the A play, the single strongest play, is the Megabuck play. So follow the buy links and be an A play winner.
You can find me and Chip at gamblersworld.net. You can find Doug at DocSports.com and some great handicappers over at Doc Sports. But we like to think we have the best right here. And yes, I am biased. And yes, I do favor Doug. And so follow Doug over at DocSports.com. Put some money in his pocket, because he'll put money in your pocket if you invest in him. And Chipper, been known Chip for a long time, and he's one of the finest handicappers you'll find anywhere on the internet. He goes about things in his own unique way, and it doesn't matter what way you go about things, it's about results. And Chip has certainly come through with positive results on a consistent basis for a very long time now. And folks, again, you could find me at gamblersworld.net, where the best part about gamblersworld.net is we guarantee our picks. That means any single game or multi-game daily package, as well as subscription plans of 30 days or fewer. If you do not win, you do not make a profit, we will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price. That's not a sign of weakness, folks. That just tells us that we're telling you we can win for you over the long haul if you stay patient with us. So if you catch us on a bad day and you only bought a single game package, you're going to get credit to make another purchase. You don't have to necessarily make that purchase with Chip or myself. You could do it with anybody. And of course, on the 3-day, 7-day, and 30-day packages, those are all guaranteed. So if you don't make a profit over that course of time, you're going to get your money that you invested credited back to your account. Don't forget to give us a like, and it's 100% free to subscribe to our channel. What are you waiting for? And if you have, or you are new, go into your YouTube settings and take 30 seconds just to click that alert notification bell and for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel, and you will be notified immediately upon any of our 5 podcasts weekly going up on our channel. Till the next time, which will be tomorrow morning, for Doug Upstone and Chip Chirimbes, who will be back with us on Thursday. We'll be discussing the NBA playoffs then. Yours truly, Ross Benjamin. Take care and God bless, folks.